Welcome to West Virginia and Commonplace. Today, I have a special guest with me. Her name is Tessila Faith. Tesla, I need you to do something that's the greatest, most amazing thing you can do. Tell everybody who you are and why you are here today.
All right, so my name is Tessila Faith. I was not always a Tessila Faith. I was actually a Rebecca Peterson. So when I was born, I was named Tessila. I have no idea why my mom picked that name, and I say mom because I don't know my dad. And a few hours later after I was born, I was taken away, and I was moved into a bunch of different homes for about 3 years, and where I was adopted. When they adopted me, they decided I needed a name change at the same time. So they gave me the name Rebecca Elizabeth Peterson. At the time, they felt like that was the best thing to do, but I struggled for years trying to find my identity. So fast forward about 28 years old, I changed my name back to Tessila Faith. And ever since then, I have felt like I have gotten all of my puzzle pieces. Of course, the missing links, trying to figure out who you are, what you're supposed to be, where you're going in life. I felt like that was one of the most defining moments in who I am, to have my name back. I know it's something so small, but when you go through identity, lack, identity breaks, when you get your name, something so simple, your name back, you choose that name before you come to earth. And oh my gosh, my life began to change at that point. All my psychic gifts started opening up. My life got just so much better. Anyways, so who am I? I am definitely a woman who took her time to figure out who she was. I had to go through quite a few struggles and changes, up and downs, and I chose to be positive throughout all of it. So I found that the strength comes from choosing to be positive throughout the changes. So I am a woman who has gone and walked a rocky, uphill both ways path, endured many things that have shaped my character, because I chose to be someone who took life for me rather than to me.
Okay. So, now, we'll get a little deep because you went deep there with us, and I appreciate that.
I can't help it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. But let's go back to Rebecca real quick. Well, okay. When did you get your first adversity at being Rebecca? Because you found somewhere you had to find out that there was a Tesla. So how did that happen?
Yeah. I think it happened over the course of once I left home. So when I was about 10, I believe my parents, my adopted family, told me that I was adopted. I do believe that is something that they should have done, because I was adopted. I looked different. I act different. I mean, everything about me was so different from them. Even though I am a woman, I am a human, I just was different. So that would have started it. And I knew things were off. But it wasn't until I was about 19 and 20, when I first got married, that I remembered my name being Tessila. And I started going on that search, trying to figure out who that person was, where was my mother, who was my family. And I ended up getting on Google. This is how crazy connected Google is.
Okay.
I had one piece of information from my adopted mother, and that was an address, I believe. And with that address, I found a name. I called them up, and this was a course of months. It wasn't like I just went in there and found it.
Okay.
And do you want me to stop? I know.
No. Keep going.
Okay. And then I found out that it was a man living at that house, and I explained the names. It was an Aunt Perry and Aunt Terry and my mother, Suzanne. He said, yes, he remembered them and was able to give me a number. And that number gave me the direction to my Aunt Perry, who gave me to my sister, Stephanie, who was my actual biological mother's oldest child. So she's about 21 years older than me.
Whoa.
Something like that. Yeah. So my mom was almost 50 when she had me. I was born in 1990. Anyways, when I met them, so many things started to fall in place. I went into the military. Out of my adoptive family, I was the only one to go into the military. I was the only one to have the psychic gifts, the only one that was rebellious. I was rebellious because I wasn't conforming to the things that I was told I had to be. And I found that out as an adult. But anyways, I met my sister through the phone, never actually met her in person. And a couple years later, I met my mother. When I walked in that door to meet my mother, it was another one of those puzzle pieces. I was like, holy hell, this woman accepts me for exactly who I am. Never seen her in 21 years. And she's embracing me, giving me a hug, telling me she loves me. And it was amazing. It was another one of those pieces where Tesla felt right. Like, my mom named me this. This needs to happen. So it wasn't until I was 28, though, that I finally made that change due to some circumstances. But it was a period of many different changes and many different identity. Like, oh, I'm missing something. Like, why do I feel called to be named this person again? Why am I feeling empty? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess if you don't have your name, someone that's had a name change that was taken from them, and it was something that was taken without my consent. And I'm not dogging my adopted parents, but when changes are made without that person saying that's what they want, you take pieces from them that they struggle to find. So I don't think there was any one defining. There were many different moments that led up to, all right, this just needs to happen. I don't really care if I offend you anymore. I don't care if you don't like the name. This is me. And that's also part of my journey, is just accepting who I was, even if I wasn't loved conditionally, because it was always conditional. It doesn't matter because I love myself unconditionally. That makes sense?
That makes sense. So you became Tessila Faith, and you meet your mom, and we'll go into a little detail on that because I'm really interested in that. It's amazing to me because, like, you know, when you start talking to somebody, you build a quick conversation in these pre-calls that we do, and then you find out so much more. Like, it's so much more like you've got a storybook life.
Yes.
So let me ask you. Let's dig a little bit into your mom real quick, if you don't care. Is that acceptable?
No, that's perfectly open.
All right. So you met your mother. You all embrace. And what's the story that she tells you?
I did not get a full story from my mother. I felt like my mom had been through enough, and the medication that she was on did not allow her to go back to those horrendous points in her life.
Okay.
She told me what she remembered. And it was my sister that gave me the story. But again, I felt like my sister, my mother's older daughter, gave me the story that I cannot help but feel was somewhat biased. And now that my mother and my father, I did meet my father, we can get into that. They ended up passing away in 2013, months apart from each other. So I did get to meet my mom right before she died, and that was amazing. But I don't feel like I got much of a story. Most of it came from my sister. So if you'd like the story, I can give it to you.
Yeah, go ahead with it, because this is interesting.
Okay. I know. Okay. So I'll give you what I've been told and what I intuitively feel for my own puzzle pieces. And I say puzzle pieces a lot because we're made up of different chunks of experience, of thoughts, feelings, people, and changes. So my mother had 5 children. I was the last of 5. I was born March 9th, 1990. I have the newspaper clipping that my sister Stephanie sent me of my mother getting into trouble with the law because she was living in her car.
Oh.
She did not have a home. She did not have a home, and she had 3 children ranging from 3 years to like 5 or 9 months. She was with a boyfriend. They had left the car, according to the newspaper clipping, and the 3-year-old, being a baby, fell asleep, rolled off of the seat, and suffocated the baby. My mother went on trial for murder, along with her boyfriend. I do not know what really would have come from that, being that if an accident happens, it's understandable. I wonder if there was more to the story.
Okay.
She went on She went on trial and was acquitted, but was also told that she was mentally unstable and that she could not have any more children in the state of California. Somewhere down the line, she met my father, fell in love, was supposed to get married, and when she got pregnant, she panicked. She took off for the state of Washington and ended up living with her sister, Aunt Terry. Okay, Terry and Perry.
Perry. Okay.
She went to live with Aunt Terry in Washington, which is where I was born. And when my sister, her sister, Aunt Perry, see, I'm getting confused, found out that she had me, decided to go up to the state of Washington. Okay, so from Sacramento, California, this is the story, and took me from my mother with only an hour having been with my mother. So she gave birth, expected to keep me, and was thinking that her life was going to be better. She was supposed to marry this man, and her sister came in and took me. So within the next 3 years before I got adopted, I was in and out of homes. I don't know if I was in an adoption agency or if I was in foster care.
Because you were a baby.
I know that I was but no one has told me that I was in a system. They just told me that I was moved around and taken care of until I was adopted by the Petersons. And the Petersons were adopting another little girl. So as an adult, I feel that they felt pity and knew my family, my biological family, and felt that they should adopt me since they were already going through the legal standpoint of all of that. So I was adopted into that family. And my mother never was the same again, which I can imagine because I'm a mother to my own 2 children. So if I lost my child after thinking that my life was finally getting better and I was being blessed, and to lose that, I don't know. I don't know what I would do, but that's the story.
Oh, that's powerful.
It is, but apparently my mother never told something along that line. I don't know, something about my mom. My dad didn't know I was alive or that I was around. I don't know, because when I did meet my father's family, they knew that I belonged to their family because I looked like them, but they had never heard from me. They never heard of me. Dad didn't know anything about me. So somewhere the story is not completely jiving with other pieces of history, you know?
Yes.
So I've had someone ask me, well, wouldn't you be upset? Aren't you mad that you were neglected or rejected? I'm like, abandoned? Like, no, I'm really not. I mean, I that has been a theme my entire life. Where do I fit in? Where's family? Who is my family? And I've had to learn to accept myself because, quite frankly, I don't accept myself. I can't expect someone else to accept me. So my family is obviously my children and people that have come into my life and accepted me for me. I don't have to have blood related family. I don't have to have my adopted family. I don't have to have a boyfriend, a husband. I am simply loved and accepted for me, regardless of who I am. And I chose to take the positive. And I know for a fact, because I saw where my mother was living and how the lifestyle that a lot of them had, when I did start getting onto social media and seeing some of it, I would not be where I am today. Even though some of it was negative and some of it did leave imprints on my subconscious mind that I'm still working through, I would not be the successful, confident, loving, healer, person, woman that I am today. You know what I mean? Like I choose to just take the positive from it and go, yeah, that happened to me, but you know what? I'm here because of it. And I love who it is.
And the greatest thing about this story that you told, like, it molded you. Parts of this puzzle that you didn't know were parts of the clay that were coming together, and you got that clay and it just built you up a little bit more, and it did a little bit more with you. Now, let me ask you this, going through all this, psychic powers, the intuition, when did that start? Because that's one thing that, like, when I talk to people that have this, I call it a higher standard of being. You're really mentally focused. You're really strong. You can tell that about you just by talking to you and how you look and how you stay very intimate with the eyes looking and paying attention. A lot of people don't do that. They'll look away, they'll look down or something like that. So that's one thing I want to commend you on there. So when did you get your first intuitive act or feeling?
Oh man. All right. So I'm going to speak my truth, and I do not want anyone to think that I am dogging a religion or a lifestyle. I'm only going to speak as to how I felt and how I perceived and why I am today the person. So I was a little girl, and I had psychic gifts coming in left and right. I was seeing things, talking to things. I was waking up in the middle of the night at precise numbers, having certain things happen, dreams, intuition, all sorts of things were happening to me. But I was raised in a Christian home where I was told that I was working with the devil, or the devil was communicating with me and I was going to go to hell. So over time, I began to suppress that. But it was hard for me to suppress it because, like I said, I was different. It's really hard to suppress who you are. In fact, it'll cause that depression, that anxiety, that addictive type personalities, because you're not living the person that you're supposed to be. You're not the creative person, you know? So I think my earliest, I was upstairs. I was homeschooled. So I was upstairs doing a bunch of schoolwork, or more like playing, pretending to do schoolwork. And I heard the phone ring, and I immediately thought to myself, my sister is on the phone. She left glass on the stove and it blew up, or whatever, cracked, and she's bleeding and she's calling mom for help. It was all just like a split second that information came in, just like a thought. And it was all very visual. I saw it all. And then my mom got off the phone, my adoptive mom, and said exactly what I had just thought. And it was one of those things like, whoa, how did I know that? Lots of little things. Like I had somebody I never found out who come, and I had long hair at one point, wisp my hair around and then disappear. I had other situations where somebody that I was close to, she was dying of cancer, and I would leave her gifts. And my form of gifts were this little tiny flower I dug out of the yard. It was probably a weed, but to me it was the gesture of, here's a gift every day. And then I gave her like a carrot. I was just giving her little things to make her smile. Well, anyways, because I had done that, I was emotionally connected to her, and she looked forward to those gifts. With that emotional connection, we are connected to the soul. So when she died, I remember being dead asleep and woke up and stared at my clock. And I remember that to this day, exactly how my room looked. And at 9:30, I didn't understand. Like, I don't know why I'm awake or why the hell I woke up out of sleep, but I'm staring at the clock, and I'm sure I won't forget this. The next morning, my mom told me, hey, you remember that neighbor lady? She died at 9:30 last night. What? So I was definitely like, whoa, there's no way that I've got all this. And I didn't know at the time what was going on. And I was also very strongly pulled towards anything Halloween. Okay, so any type of witches, spells, the Halloween theme, like all of that. And I didn't understand why, because I was not allowed to even look at that stuff, let alone think about it. You know what I mean? Another situation was, this is where I think I, as an adult now and a developed psychic, I understand that it was probably my spirit guide that was talking to me, my guardian angel. His name's Isaac, by the way. He looks a little bit like you. Okay, we'll move on. Anyways, my mother had a beautiful horse. My sister and my mother were big into horses. Me and dad were more into four-wheelers and all that. I grew up on a ranch way out in Oregon. So we had cattle and horses and all that.
Yeah.
So I was the tomboy. My mother got on her horse, managed to get down to the gate past the barn, and her horse started acting funny. And she was highly upset. She was crying, and it is a massive animal. Even their heads are ridiculously heavy. You barely hold them up. So when that horse went sideways and slammed against a tree, we knew that it was over, because that it wasn't holding itself up anymore. And it's dangerous for them to be on their sides anyway. So when it slammed against the tree and the vet got there, dad tried really, really hard to get mom to go away. But of course, I was her pet. She wasn't leaving. And I remember asking myself, because I was 12, I remember saying in my head, is this horse going to die? And I contributed it to God or a higher power, because I immediately heard a very loud in this ear, yes. I was like, what? Looking around for who it was. And I was like, it was such a powerful feeling of, whoa, someone just communicated with me. And then sure enough, I think the vet gave the horse something to help it, but it had something going on with it and it just passed away. So anyways, those are some of them. Of course, I have a lot more now as an adult, but when I was little, that's kind of what triggered it. And I knew I was different. I mean, my thinking was of an old soul. There were things that I would tell my dad that I look back, I'm like, oh my God, that's what I was telling him. There's no way I knew that in that home. I wasn't allowed to even read that, let alone where that information come from. You know, it was in my subconscious mind from a past life. So anyways, I don't know, I knew I was different from the very beginning. Like,
okay, now let me ask you this about your skills. Intuitive, medium.
Okay. You want to know what that means?
Well, no, I don't want to know what that means. I know what it means. The audience doesn't know. I'll get to that in just a second. So with having these traits, because we're not going to call them, I don't call them skills because I don't want to make it be derogatory towards what you have. These traits that are inside of you. When did you refine them and start honing them as an adult to become this medium that you are today?
Okay, so I was about 20 years old when I sat in my son's room on my knees, crying, like a desperate cry. I was lost. I was scared. I was begging at the time, God, somebody, help me, because I feel like if I die, I'm going to hell. That was the idea that was placed in my mind growing up. It was so scary and so full of fear that I was literally crippling myself with being afraid of what I did next. If I do this, am I going to go to hell? Because at one point in my life growing up, it was literally to the point of, you didn't do this, you disobeyed, you're going to hell. That is so crushing to a spirit, to a soul. To have that fear-based pathway is what it's called, correcting you and keeping you in this box when I am a beautiful being with goals and a purpose that I want to live on a love-based pathway. So I remember thinking to myself, I've got to find out what I call looking for truth, my truth. I started searching, reading, digging. I almost would say that now that I've matured and become the spiritual person I am, probably was harassing anyone that called themselves a witch or psychic on Facebook. I was begging for information. I was so hungry for direction and some type of peace. And when you do find your truth, you do find peace because you're okay with that idea, that religion, that spirituality, that way of life that is you. And you're like, I can breathe because now I am loved for this wacky pink wall. You know what I mean? Like just the simplicity of who you are, you're loved for that. There is no reason why you got to follow this or follow that. So I, about 24 years old, started obsessively digging, I guess, to where I thought that I had to do this, study that, buy that book, do this, practice that, to a point of, oh my God, Tessila doesn't even know who she is right now. She's just doing everything. About 24, 25 years old, let's see, 24, summer of 2014, I got my Reiki 1, 2, and Master, Reiki Master, and started doing all of my healings. And at the time I started my little business. I was trying to do my healings, but I had so much farther to go. I had no idea what I was doing, even though I had learned that modality. So about a year later, I started getting into high alkalinity foods, carrots and certain nuts, and staying away from the toxins of alcohol and sugar, which is not easy.
It's hard.
It is. And I felt like each year I was implementing something that became a way of life. So eliminating fluoride out of my toothpaste, be careful with the what do you call it, deodorant that you put on, and so on and so forth. And it became me. 2015, I got a divorce, and this is really where my sense of who I am, what I wanted, where I was going, began to really surface and take a toll, I guess. Because they say when you go through divorce, you go through the phases of grief. And I was definitely losing who I was, didn't know who I was, where I was going. It was hard. But anyways, 2007, I had an aviation job because I'm an aviation mechanic. I did that in the Marine Corps, and I do that now. I work for an EMS company here in Nashville, Tennessee. And 2007, I started my business, Journey to Yahweh. I think about 2005, 2015, Journey to Yahweh divinely hit me. And I don't know why I chose it. At the time, I was like, oh, I really like that name. Let me use that. Well, when I dug deeper on Yahweh, Yahweh is the Hebrew word for God, which means I am. So journey to I am.
Yeah.
Journey back to the core of who you are. I am love. And I'm my entire course of teaching anybody anything is just coming back to the point that you are loved. Because if you understand that you are loved unconditionally by this source, there isn't anything that's going to get in your way. You've got a strength and a power and a field, or a legion, if you will, of angels and backing that you cannot be tested. But anyways, let me get back. So about 2007, I started Journey to Yahweh because I wanted to teach people to come back to the core of the subconscious mind and how they were created and how life here on earth changes those buying and selling of those beliefs, getting those limiting beliefs, holding you back from who you are, what you're supposed to be doing in your life, and so on and so forth. That's where a lot of the unhappiness and lack of identity and so on, what we believe, what we feel, what we think, all of those things bring into our conscious reality, what we experience every day. I began to do what are called angel detoxes. So I work very closely with the angel realm. And the detox is like straight healthy fruits and vegetables that are in a juice form, and you detox, like take everything out and start over.
Oh, wow.
For like, I don't know, it was like 7 days or 15 days straight detox. And it's hard to do. It is hard to do because you got to break that mind over body, controlling what you want to eat and drink and watching movies and who knows what. And I began to gain a following. People were like, oh, what are you doing? How are you doing it? What psychic gifts are coming out of that? I'm like, I don't really know. All I know is that I'm following my intuition. They're telling me to do this, I do that. And that's the point. Follow your intuition. You cannot go wrong because that's your little, imagine like a red beam coming out of your stomach, because that's where your intuition sits there with your solar plexus. Just kind of imagine it hooked on a path. When you get off the path, well, then the red dot gets a little longer because you got to get back. Got to get back on your center line. So, it was 2017, October 2017, I found a book, and this was my defining moment.
Okay.
What I had, a spiritual awakening is what it's called. And you basically lose, I'm looking for my book, sorry. My entire identity was dropped, completely changed. You don't know who you are. I mean, it's one thing to don't know who you are when you're like going through a divorce, but it's a whole nother thing when you don't know who you are as a human on earth. Everything I had been taught as far as the religion with Christianity, just, you sit there and all the little puzzle pieces, I was like, how did I know this information? Where did this come from? What? So this book is written by Doreen Virtue, 10 messages your angels want you to know. And they teach you about how your mind creates your reality, how there is no separation from God, creator, universe, source, whatever you want to call it. There is only the illusion of separation that is created by humankind. There is a love-based and a fear-based pathway. You manifest and create off of those thoughts and feelings. What happens when you die? And I don't know what your point is here on earth. I mean, you've got a purpose. Every single person has a passion. That passion is your purpose. There's no reason why you wouldn't love something and then, oh no, go work in the mines instead. No, you're supposed to live that passion. You are supposed to be successful and happy based on what you're supposed to be doing. And I tell people, you cannot fail at being who you are because you've been given everything that you need to be that person. If you want to be a vet and you're obsessed with animals and but your parents want you to rather be a lawyer because that's all they've done. Sorry, honey, now's the time to break that. You become that vet because I guarantee you will be massively successful. Not on top of that, but happy. Happy. You have to be happy. You have to make choices to make yourself happy in order to be flourishing. You know what I mean? Okay, so
yeah.
I got all my psychic gifts. They're coming in. So I had my spiritual awakening in October 2017. And trust me, I had some issues and people did not understand why I was feeling the way I was. And those of you who have gone through a spiritual awakening understand the identity crisis. Why am I even alive at this point? Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be breathing right now. Do I eat? You're just lost. So I started meeting with a bunch of people in that town and just working with people, communicating, and they understood. It was great to have that help or that support. January, when I was doing a reading and a healing, an energy healing on a woman, I had compartments in my mind. Don't laugh. I genuinely had little bubbles in my mind that I would separate and I would use for readings, healings, and whatnot. And I would always work with Archangel Raphael and Archangel Michael. And one's the protector, one's the healer. They would come in the room and they would do their thing with me. And I remember being psychically, so clairvoyance works with the third eye, and I was projecting myself into this room. I laid this lady down and I can see energies. So based on what I have attuned myself to see, the energy that came forward, she's got a beautiful, every person does have this beautiful, transparent, pearlescent, beautiful energy, and then pops up the chakras. And depending on how they look, the work needs to be done on a balance. And then on the black splotches, that's something that has to be removed. Whole nother story. While I was working on this lady, pulling in energy and watching it flow and then working on her psychically, I wasn't physically touching her. All of a sudden, this woman with like this short crown of whitish curly hair, like older ladies have, she immediately looks at me and she's very defined. Like, she was looking at me with this face of like, don't you dare hurt my daughter. And I felt that. And I was like, whoa. And I had never seen a spirit or anything like that in my mind before. So I was totally thrown. And I popped back up out of meditation and just stared at my wall going, what did I just see? And I began to understand that I was a medium, a psychic medium. So I was able to see spirits, angels, and whatnot. And oh my goodness, what a shock, really. So down to it, there's energy healer, there's psychic gifts, and then there's also psychic medium or intuitive medium. So for me, intuitive, basically the same thing. Your psychic gifts work off of your intuition. Your intuitive medium, I consider myself someone who is able to feel, see, sense, hear, and work with spirit. So all of those psychic gifts together, it is a I don't know. I don't even know the right word to explain it. It is a lot going on when
it's a conglomerate. So one thing,
everything.
Yeah, so you're a conglomerate, basically. One thing I wanted to touch on, and it was something that we don't talk a lot about in society, but you brought it up. You brought up the thought of how religion, when we're young, it's an institution of thought. It's almost about like a prison. And the only reason I wanted to bring it back up is because when we were young, all of us, Christians, or whatever you were, or whatever you are, Muslim, whatever, we were all hard pressed with these ideas, this ideology that you have to conform, and then once you conform, you have to confine yourself. And I wanted to tell you, I appreciate you for expressing that in this interview, and you did it in such a great way. Like, you didn't just sit out here and just go bash Jesus or whatever. You just said the actual part that we all forget about, the cult part of religions, the human intuition that came from the people that made these rules, how they pressed it on you, and you broke those chains. I really appreciate that, and how tasteful you were with that. that goes a long ways with people because you didn't like press the issue in a derogatory way. So I want to tell you thank you on that one. Now, your venture, Journey to Yahweh. I pronounced it wrong.
Yahweh.
Yahweh, sorry. Yahweh.
It's all right.
So you got this concept and you build a business.
Yes.
You're nurturing it. It's your third child, basically. Correct?
Yes. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I got two.
And yeah, so this is your third child. So you're nurturing this and you're getting out here in the world. Where can people find this information if they want to find out more about this?
So there's a few different avenues. I'm most active on Instagram. So with Instagram, it is journey dot to dot Yahweh. My website is obviously www.journeytoyahweh, no dashes, no dots.com. Within my website, you will find the descriptive meaning as to why I even started it, pretty much everything I already said, my goal, who I am, what I plan on doing, and what I can do to help each individual person. Because although we are human and spiritual and have souls and pasts, each one of us have different limiting beliefs holding us back from our true self, our true I ams. I am loved, I'm confident, I'm happy, so on and so forth. And a lot of what I deal with in the few years that I've been doing this, I am enough, I am loved, I am worthy, seem to be the most prominent belief systems that are negative. So instead of I am enough, it's always I lack, or I am enough, no. So their mind does not understand that I am enough. So leaning forward with the subconscious mind, they're actually I am enough, no. And they don't feel like they're enough. And then we get into the reasons and why. And then we get down to, oh, I know I was 5 years old and my dad told me I was a failure, so I'd never amount to anything. But anyways, that's a whole nother story. And then I also have a Facebook, but I don't do a lot on there. It is connected to my Instagram and it does go to that. But I recently started over because I felt I had a really stagnant energy. It just kind of, because I don't spend a lot of time on there, I felt like it just kind of died down. So I started over. But like I said, Instagram is where I do most of my communicating. And then I have a YouTube, Think, Align, Manifest, where I put my affirmational videos out and I do my subconscious mind work.
And thank you. That's one of my favorite parts of the show. I call it the shameless plug. But something else happened along the way. You're out here and what happens to people, and this is something that I always love to tell people about themselves. You get out here and you become a voice, right? Well, once you become a voice, you hear an echo. That's the voice coming back to you. When the voice comes back to you, it puts an energy inside you. And usually the energy stops at your hands. In your case, it stopped at your hands. You took a hand, you took a pen, you went to a computer, you started typing. Once you started typing turns into self-help, self-care. Then you know what happens after that? It becomes a book. So please tell us about your book.
Oh, it's like I didn't think you remembered.
But think about the way I just said it. If you go for what I said, how it all takes place.
Yeah, no, I like that. So when I was 5 years old, I've always been obsessed with books. I could eat a dang novel in a day at like 14. I was obsessed with reading. It was like my escape. But anyways, I was 5 years old and I didn't even know that what I was doing was manifesting. And I don't know if I have that anymore. I think my adoptive parents probably do. But in my little hope chest, I wrote this book. I took one of those black, you ever seen, I don't know the name of it, journal notepads.
The one that looks like, are you talking about the one that looks like cow pattern?
Kind of. Yeah. Yes, only bigger.
Right.
Yeah. Way bigger. Okay. So it was black and white. Yeah. And I was 5 years old and I wrote down my title and I wrote down my ending with my name and who I was at 5 years old. I mean, I don't know what I said, but that was the start of my manifesting of writing a book. So I was about 2017 when I started realizing that affirmations were a part of my purpose, teaching people the affirmations. And if you look on my Instagram, I have a lot of them. And I promise you the power behind them. I've watched my life change in a matter of days. And it'll be based on your faith and your belief system, and the how many blocks or onion layers you have, at how quickly these affirmations work. But I realized that that was something that I wanted to do. So I started pulling affirmations for each chakra, and I wanted to create a children's book. But the more I produced and edited and got the drawings and colors and words and everything put together, I realized that this book was not just children based, even though it's very simple and it's only about 2 pages per chakra. It is a basic guideline for every human on this earth to understand what the root chakra is, the color of it, the placement, and the affirmation to use to settle that chakras in balance, whether it's overactive or underactive. There's so many different ways you can go with that. I put this book together, dedicating it to my children and making it something very special and dear, and realized that the impact it will have on children as a parent to read that child that book every single day, even if just to teach them, they retain so much. This is why the molding and the impressing of the beliefs and ideologies and way of life, and this is how we do it, this is our culture, all of that makes a huge impression on a person as they're older, then they begin to break that. So I put together 7 chakras, because that's what we have, the 7 main, the 7 ones that everyone really talks about, and go into depth with the affirmations, colors, locations, male, female, just the different silhouettes, and combining all different aspects of teaching you really one thing. And then it teaches you why I have the colors, the placement, the shapes, and everything. It all is a method to the madness. The Marine Corps, they used to say that, well, there's a method to our madness. Like, you're just making me crazy. So there's a point. There's a point in that book why everything is very specifically put, and you understand that you are your creator. Everything is energy, and your intent is everything. So you intend to heal. You say, I'm going to balance this out. You're going to be able to do that with that affirmation. If you want to visualize that color and use that as a meditation, there's a mandala on the other side of the page. All of it comes together to help a person just find peace, balance, and healing.
And where's this book located at? Where can they get it?
Oh man, so I was selling it for a while, and I did not feel like it was reaching the full potential that my soul wanted it to have. So if they go to my website, I actually give it away for free. Whoa. I just want people to have it.
So, is it in the ebook form, or do they get a signed physical copy?
Well, I got originally, when I first got them produced, I got 12, and I was so excited, and I did sign all those, and I put the dates and everything. So there's originals out there. There's probably like 9 of them, because I kept 3 that have the original dates and whatnot. But no, it is e-form now, because I don't have that publishing company. I believe eventually I will have another publishing company, because book 2 will be coming out with more in-depth of how to use your mind to create and whatnot. But anyways, right now it's just a gift, and I feel so much better about that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Now, into the author circle, that's something that that's a series that I do. I got to ask you a few author questions. When you were doing this, obviously this was partial self-care for yourself, right?
Yes.
To a certain degree. So you get the self-care you need, and then did you get any self-healing from this yourself?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no way that I would be teaching this if I hadn't experienced the power and impact that this makes. So the defining moment that really set me down that path of realizing that I had to impact other people, and it made me happy, was when I was going through my divorce in 2015. I went to see a healer. Sometimes the healer has trouble healing themselves, so they go to someone else. And I went to a Reiki practitioner. And when I was leaving, I was very distraught. Of course, I was going through divorce, sad, negative. Everything was falling apart. And as I was walking away, I was not one to ever hear, I love you, you are loved, and all of that growing up. That was real kept to your heart, and not given. It was something that was earned. And when I walked away from her, she opened her screen door, and I remember her leaning out. She yelled very loudly, but not obnoxiously, and she said, "You are loved." And I remember stopping and turning around, because I was kind of sideways from leaving her house. And I looked at her, and she started to say something else. And I just remember thinking, like, why is she saying that? Like, this is really weird. Like, what did I do to earn this? I just paid you for a session. Why are you telling me I'm loved? What did I do to earn it? And she finished whatever she was saying. I was walking away and she said it one more time, you are loved. I feel like that moment set me on a path of, what is this? What is this feeling? Why did she say that to me? And as I began to dig, the whole you are loved. You're loved, Tesla, for the fact that you are doing this and going there and you're impacting these lives and you're different from these people that raised you. That's okay. You're still loved. You're different and you're teaching something they don't agree with. It's okay. You're still loved. It impacted me in more ways than I knew I needed, and it still does. I have 2 children who learn this from me, yet they're old souls and they teach me. So this entire life has been a learning curve, and to have these beautiful children in my life, for me to teach them, I'm learning from them myself. So this entire journey, of course, I teach, but I tell people I cannot be the healer that I am, cannot be the coach, the guide, whatever you want to say, without first experiencing and having overcome these heartaches and these troubles and have the empathy to understand what you're going through. I cannot be somebody, oh yeah, I can help you. Let me take your money and run. No, I have to actually experience what you're telling me and to know it changed me and have my own story for you to actually have that trust and understanding that I know what I'm talking about. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, man. That's you're deep. That really does answer my question. Now on your website, because we got to dig into that a little bit.
Okay.
Because you did the chakras, and everybody knows, and we don't always talk about this. Like I call them filler questions or sample questions that I give to my guests, and we go over certain things. In certain ways, I'll put them in certain ways, I'll omit quite a few questions. But one thing, you offer some services that are on your website. Yes. Could you tell us the name of these services and explain to us each one of these services?
Yeah, to the best of my ability. Because,
would you like me to give you the names of the ones that I like?
Yes, my memory's kind of a little slow.
All right, and everybody, I cheat here. I keep an iPad beside me, so I have all my notes. All right, removing limited beliefs. Angel Oracle card reading. I'm really interested in that one. And energy healing is self-explanatory because you explained energy healing in your story. So we know energy healing. We know what you're going to do with that.
Okay.
But could you tell me first about the Angel Oracle card reading? I need to know about that.
Okay. Of course. So as I said, I work with angels. I work very closely with angels. In fact, ever since I started working with them, that is another thing that changed my life. It is a known fact for those that actually start to work with angels, how much of an impact and a change they make on your life. So just like someone who put their faith in Jesus or their faith in Allah, Muhammad, Buddha, whoever it is that they believe that this deity or this ascended master or God is in some form controlling. And if they ask for it, they will receive it. So when I work with angels, it's almost the same way. Although everyone has an angel, everyone has 1 to 3 guardian angels, and then up the tiers, there's like 7 tiers. The archangels I also work with, but they're the ones that oversee the guardian angels. Anyways, when I read the book, 10 Messages Your Angels Want You to Know by Doreen Virtue, she also has a set of oracle cards. You might know, I'm trying to find them right now, that she put out. And ever since I started reading the messages that come through these oracle cards, they are a little bit different than tarot. Although if you know tarot, somewhat like that, you shuffle the cards and you ask for a reading to come through. And what I do is I take your picture, I put it up on a table in my mind, and I psychically ask for your guardian angels and spirit guides to come forward. And there's actually a female coming forward. Shorter black hair. Anyways, she'll come forward, and when I deck out the cards, she will give you a message through those cards. It is always accurate based on me being able to understand my impressions coming through psychic or intuitive gifts. So what I see, feel, hear, sense, energies, and that message will guide you rather than tell you your past or the things that are going on. They give you a loving, guided reading telling you what's going to happen and how you can best walk into that. And hey, maybe ask this angel for help. So the only way that you can get help from the angels, because you have a free will contract. Imagine yourself in them in chains behind you, waiting there, like watching you struggle. No, just ask for help. You have to, whether you want to speak it, write it, think it, scream it, dream it, it doesn't matter, as long as you acknowledge that they are there. And I wonder if there's many people that will be listening to this saying, okay, hey, I'm just going to test this out. Hey, if you're there, do this for me. Oh, you just opened the floodgates, because they're going to show you that they do exist and that they are there because they want to impact your life in a positive way. They want to bring you happiness, money, food, support, safety, and a love, whether it's a spouse or a relationship that you want. Everything. There's an angel for everything. It is amazing. So those oracle cards are basically messages that you aren't listening to through your own intuition, and they're going, yo, fine, we got to use this lady. She'll give you the dang message, and maybe now you'll listen. And it's always in a loving way. It's not like anything negative, depressing, because they only want you to be positive. You know, they don't want to leave you feeling empty. They want you excited about the next 6 months, you know?
That's understandable. Now, removing limited behavior. You've briefly touched on it in almost every facet of what you've been talking about.
Yes.
But the limiting behavior enough. No, you said that earlier, and I picked that up. So is that part of the right? Is that part of the narrative?
Oh yes. Wait, is it a part of the angel oracle card narrative, or is it? It is
the removing limited beliefs.
Yes. Okay. So removing limiting beliefs, they are based in your subconscious mind. If you tell yourself something over and over and over, you think it over and over and over, it becomes a belief. So let's go back to I'm worthless. I'm worthless. I'm worthless. I'm worthless. I'm worthless. I'm worthless. Think about that. It starts to bring you down, right?
Yeah, a little depressing.
Yeah, a little depressing. That's why I don't like to say it very many times. Cancel clear. Anyways, so cancel clear will take that thought and change it. But so I am worthless becomes something that you hear enough, that you think enough, especially as a child, the molding points, the most impressionable times, or in a bad relationship, you're a failure. No one's going to love you. You start to take on those beliefs and they become a form of you. They become who you are. So those limiting beliefs, if you believe that you are not worthy of love, how in the world do you think that you're going to receive that love in another form, or even give it to yourself? If you do not believe that you are successful or can be successful, how do you expect to find success? Those limiting beliefs bring into your conscious reality what you believe. So they come in every form. There's love, there's worthlessness, there's a lack of respect, there's failure of some type. Your conscious reality will always tell you what you really truly believe in your subconscious mind. So these limiting beliefs, they are bought and sold ideas or beliefs that you have picked up either from childhood or church or a religious sector, a spiritual sector, schools,
society,
books,
basically.
TV, society. Yes, because that's where the programming is done. I mean, if you think about it, the programming through your TV, your books, your TV shows, and just watching, this is me coming with my beliefs here, just watching the pandemic with coronavirus. One of the things that they said many, many times that I got irritated about myself for picking up was, this is the new normal. They said that so many times that it became something that I began to believe this is the new normal and just accepted it. I'm like, what in the world? See how it's happening? They say it enough times across enough outlets that you pick up, it becomes a receptive belief. So you believe it's a new normal, it's fine. Move on.
And from receptive belief, it becomes reality. Correct.
Well, it is the reality you're accepting.
Okay.
So your conscious reality is what you believe to be your reality. That's why there is no such thing as normal. So your limiting beliefs, when we begin to pull those layers back that hold you back from your happiness and your success and your love and the things that you want, you may think, oh my gosh, I can't wait to be successful. But all I'm bringing into my life is constant failure and rejection from schools and my dad saying this, my mom yelling at me over this failure. That's because you don't believe that you can be successful. Consciously, it's different from your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is a hard drive to your computer. What your hard drive has, your computer's going to play out. So your subconscious mind has to be programmed with the belief of I am successful. And then we get to the bottom as to why you even have that belief. And that's where the limiting beliefs come in. And that's about 1.5 to 2 hours per session, because it gets exhausting. There's a lot of muscle testing, a lot of work, a lot of communication with me through theta healing and creator and so on and so forth. So, that one has to be for somebody who is ready to make a change. It doesn't just go, oh yeah, let me try this out, because it will get very deep. There is no privacy. I am an energy healer. I'm a psychic. There are things that I will see, feel, and hear that you're probably, I didn't really ask you to do that. Honey, you signed up for this reading. You signed up for this healing. You need to understand the impact. It will change your life. You will be happier. You will see changes. You will become more aware. Are you ready for that? Don't step into that space or that spotlight if you're not ready to uncover that darkness. But once we pull the darkness, those onion layers start to fall away, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't know I could be this happy. Oh my God, let me just tell you, from working with my own self, I didn't realize that I could have the life I do, the manifesting that I can do, the angels that I work with, the beliefs I've changed, the life that I have is all because I believed I could, and I found out how.
And you
So,
apply it now.
yeah. Oh my God. Yes, absolutely.
Now, let me ask you this. You have a lot going. You have the book that you've already published. You've got a second book that you announced on here.
Yes.
So that's part of your future. What are your next endeavors? Because here's the thing. Out of this, people are going to know who Tessila Faith is now. They knew you before on other ventures that you've been on, but you're on West Virginia and Commonplace. So they're definitely you're going to hear from some people, excuse me. So what are your next endeavors outside of this? Because most people, you have the YouTube channel, so I know that you continuously do things with that. But what's the next thing pushing forward for you beyond your book?
So right now, my goal is to manifest coaching with people. I believe that the program that I have, the Journey to I Am, I named it Journey to I Am. I mean, the whole point of it is to take you back to the core of who you originally were before the earth got a hold of you, and teach these people the basics, the simple basics of meditation, energy. What is energy? Not just energy healing, but what is energy? The chakras, how to use the subconscious mind, who are the angels, what to manifest, your auras, and everything. And then we take another course or another module that goes into depth, and I will teach you how to meditate. I'll teach you why it's important. I'll teach you the right way. I'll tell you that what you find on the internet, trust me, I spent years trying to figure out what was this and what was that. I put it all in one box where you no longer feel crazy or you're lost or missing a piece of information. It is all right there. And then we move on down the line, teach you in depth the subconscious mind, how the affirmations work, brain waves. I mean, that's a big one. Binaural beats and isochronic tones, the angels, the different levels, and what archangel I work with and which one you can use. Oh man, is in depth. And then I teach theta healing, because my goal as a healer is to not wrap up or rack up a whole bunch of people. What I want is to teach you how to heal, how to meditate, how to live the beautiful life that you deserve, how to pull the limiting beliefs, how to manifest, how to connect to your spirit guides, your angels. And then I want you to go teach someone else. I don't want you to come back to me over and over, not because I don't love you or don't support you. It's because the goal is, this is your human right. This is your God-given right. This is your soul's right to learn how to heal and to become the healer yourself. You are your best healer. You know your thoughts. You know your feelings. You know how you really think and speak. You got to be honest with yourself. That's another thing. In order to take this course, you have to be ready, willing, and open up the deep, dark parts of you that you probably don't even want to be honest about yourself. And I can say is, I am a judgmental person. Therefore, it's because I judge myself. Why? Because I've always been told I would not be good enough, that I wouldn't amount to anything, that I wasn't worthy of that. I wouldn't have this. Because you left that, you don't get that. You're going to hell. So many things that always made me feel less than or a lack of. Hence why I had to teach myself. One of the things I had to be honest with was, I'm a judgmental person because I judge myself. It all starts with you. Your outward projections of saying, I don't like you, I don't like that, or you're disgusting, or, you're mean, it's probably because you're saying those things about yourself. So come ready to be honest and open about who you are. Otherwise, this ain't working. We can't have we can't have surface. This is deep. Just like this entire talk has been deep. It is my personality to go deep. I cannot surface talk. I can't do, hey, did you see the bird today? No, I got to get deep. I got to talk. I got to get it out. I got to communicate. So that's how I am with my healing sessions and in the coaching programs. There's continuous conversation and connection to me should they choose to do the coaching program, because I don't want to give you this whole program and then goodbye. No, I have to see you through it. I have to make sure you understand what you're dealing with, who you are, and then I want to watch you transform. And there's also a one-on-one healing session that I do, so you kind of understand what you're doing. Therefore, when you're journaling, you're like, oh, she told me how to do this and how to do that. Now I can do it myself. And honestly, like I said, my goal is to teach you so you can teach someone else.
And I like
impact
that.
The world. I can't impact the world by myself. I got to teach you. I need you.
And that's understandable. And I appreciate that about you. So at a point in the show, I do this portion. Growing up, I watched this TV show. It was called 2020. It's a news magazine. It had Diane Sawyer on there, and it had John Stossel. John Stossel was a comedian. We don't have to worry about the comedic portions because we've had highs and lows in this episode already. And then there was Barbara Walters. Barbara Walters, she asked the challenging questions. Diane Sawyer would do an interview with someone that was breathtaking and stuff. But Barbara Walters at 10:40 p.m. on a Friday night, and this is me. There's not much difference between us. I was born in 1985, so 5 years difference. So like when I was 5, drinking on my Mountain Dew or whatever I was doing at that time, at 10:40, before my mom knew that I had 2021, Barbara Walters would ask these guests something, and sometimes it would be something that would put me to sleep, or it would be something that I would stay up and challenge in my mind. So your questions will go in order of this. They'll go from Diane Sawyer level to Barbara Walters level.
Okay.
All right. The first question: what was your first failure in this venture that you've been on? And when I say venture, I'm not talking about the adventure, because your adventure is the highs and lows. But everyone has a great story. But everybody has a point where that climax or that rising action falls. When was the first time during all this that you had to pick yourself up?
Oh my gosh.
Take a moment and think about it, and I'll tell you. One thing that I noticed in life, like with my journey with this podcast, for instance, I had to challenge myself to really think outside the box. I had to decide if I was going to be a podcaster or a talk show host. In the end, I decided that I would be a talk show host because I can get more out of that. I can ask the engaging questions, and I can get the better engagements back from my guests and the audience. If I took on that role of a talk show host, not a talk show host in the sense of Jerry Springer or anything like that, but like a Larry King type deal, someone that asks you things that really, wrap around your mind, and the uncomfortable questions, because everybody always wants to tell a successful story and everybody wants to put a small bit in there, but nobody wants to put their pitfall in there. Everyone has a pitfall. Everyone has a down moment. I had mine in 2019 with the loss of a significant other. So I know, that when I fell that time, it wasn't necessarily my pitfall, but it was something that slowed me down, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, I
So,
got you.
so what happened to you? What was your first?
Um, my first, I'm gonna speak on the one that came to mind when you asked the question, because I'm divinely guided, and I feel like that one came to me for a reason. I had 2 marriages. So my second husband, I was married in 2017 before he left for deployment. He was someone I felt I deserved. So these limiting beliefs were attracting to me the person I believed I deserved. And it wasn't till he got back from deployment and I found some things that just destroyed the marriage that I ended up having to leave. The failure or the upset turned into a triumph for me because I married someone that I intuitively knew I shouldn't have. This was around the time that I had my spiritual awakening, 2017. And I knew they were telling me, do not do this. If you do this, it's going to be rough. And I thought, oh no, I love this man. I'm going to get married, even though there's red flags everywhere.
Like Six Flags, just like Six Flags.
Give me another one. Let's just run. So I think the biggest part of that failure, or the awakening moment where I was like, oh, this person came into my life for this reason, was I didn't listen to my intuition. I ignored the signs. I found out things that broke me, just took me a long time to get over. But this situation taught me to trust my intuition, taught me to not trust everyone so quickly, so strongly, taught me that I could heal myself and my body. This is where I started digging into theta healing. I went into a theta course around that time that I was getting a divorce from him, because I was very lost, very broken again. And I learned how to heal my physical body. There were things that happened that were so many lies. My physical body took abuse. And I believe that without this person, without this marriage, this divorce, and these lessons I had to go through, I would not be here today empathizing with the people that I do. So I think the hardest point was having to not listen to my intuition, walk off the path I knew I should have been on, which was don't get anywhere near him, go through what I did and overcome it. All of that pain, what do they call it? A cognitive disorder or something, where I believed one thing so strongly, and when it wasn't true, my brain just wasn't understanding how it wasn't true. You know?
You made it into your own human nature, basically.
Yes, exactly. And there was a lot of healing mentally, emotionally, from the abuse, and then the physical side of it. I had to teach my body how to heal, because belief systems are attached to physical ailments. So once I understood that I pull this limiting belief, my physical body will heal. The physical body is normally the first indication that people go, oh, I'm sick, not the emotional and mental or the spiritual side of it. So I learned so much from it. And I don't know if I really want to say failure, but I definitely learned to listen to my intuition.
Well, the thing with a failure is like this: a failure usually has a lesson to it.
Oh,
That's
yes,
that's why we don't take it in a negative way. Never ever take it that way, because I learned a long time ago that if you don't have failures, you don't have successes, and those successes were breeded from failure. So that's something that's really tight that you always have to hold on to. Now, in this story that you just told here, you gave an example of something that a lot of people can't do. People go around in life, right? And people love and love and love, right? And obviously, this was your second trial of love.
The same mistake, yes.
Well, here's the thing: you were loving, right, with ing, yes, right, but you weren't loved, loved, and you learned that, and you've grown from that now. So my next question goes into this: the different tenses of love, right? Love, loving, loved, right? All have set meanings. What do those three phases of love mean to you? Love, loving, loved.
Okay, so loved, I guess I'll start there, is something I've always searched for. I had to learn to teach myself that I had to love myself. And I'm loving myself when I say no and I set boundaries. Now, love is something I've always given 100% unconditionally, even at the wrong times. Okay, remember the Six Flags? I give it. That's because I've always wanted it. When I broke up, or rather ended this marriage, I went through a long course of learning to love myself, learn to love myself, and learning to just put those boundaries up, and those, not walls. I didn't create walls, boundaries. Walls separate you from all that you deserve based on the fact that you would rather take the negative and hold on to it instead of learning the positive and let go. So setting those boundaries, you're loving yourself. And I learned to love myself. And because of that, I guess I've learned that I am loved.
Right. So you see, it makes sense there. And the thing that ties along with this is there was a very famous singer, Stevie Wonder. I forgot what the song was, but it was something about building sandcastles of love. And the reason he did that was because those were temporary boundaries that could be broken down with certain conditions. And that's what you did there. So that's really amazing. Now, here comes a hard hitting question. This is your Barbara Walters question, because that right there was just the middle. That was just to get you a little comfortable, because you see yourself, you've opened up in a different manner now, correct? It's some sense of some things that flared up that you haven't thought about, you didn't think about yesterday at least. So you went through that, you came back, but you plateaued somewhere. This plateauing thing is you get to a certain complacency, you get happy, right? When did you plateau after this? Because we always want to keep going up, but sometimes we just plateau and we just get into not a normalcy. That's not what I'm saying, but we get very complacent with how we are, and then something else just erupts, and then we get back on that high horse again and keep going up. So when did you plateau?
So after my divorce to him, this was March 2019, I ended up dedicating myself pretty heavily to Instagram, Journey to Yahweh, and manifesting. Ended up manifesting this home that I'm living in, the land and everything that I have, and didn't realize how big or how strong of a manifester I was. So trust me, I was like, oh my God, this happened. Let's keep going. So then I kept meditating. I'd sit outside with the bushes. I've got a beautiful yard, and I would meditate body to ground. So I would make sure that I was physically touching the earth in order to allow that energetic healing, releasing of the toxins, the toxic energies, because it's a great grounder. And then allowing myself to just be in nature. It's a healer. I began to manifest and see this life that I wanted. Okay. The life that I wanted and still want and believe that is happening even now, because we're living it out, is speaking. I want to be, and I know I will be, a motivational speaker. I see myself speaking to large masses the same story that I'm giving to you right now. I want to shift an entire room. I thrive on that high of just knowing that people are impacted, and it's impact by love. So my high, I was writing notes, man. I don't even know where that notebook is right now, but I wish I could read them. Maybe I'll send you pictures after this, but the notes that I had, just reading the notes would just give you this, like, I want to see this happen, because I wrote out how I saw the room, how I saw the people, and what I would say. I ended up being so passionate that I was contacting homeless shelters, churches, big name speakers down here where I live, the VA hospital, because I'm a veteran, so I felt like that was a great place to go. And then I asked a friend to help me get onto a radio station. Everything fell through. Either I wasn't a Christian, so I wasn't allowed to go to the churches. I wasn't allowed to go to the homeless shelters because I wasn't teaching Bible or biblical support of Jesus and how he pulls them from depths with. I'm not dogging. It's just there's more to it than just that. And I wasn't allowed to go to the VA shelter or the VA hospital because I wasn't a veteran working there. And then the lady that was big name just told me, no, sorry, hope you have great ventures somewhere else. And then the radio station was falling off the planet. So I lost all of that energy, that defeat, and just kind of went downhill and quit. I quit. And it wasn't like in a day. It's just I felt defeated over time and I just like put it aside. And it wasn't until January of this year, 2021, that I finally picked it all back up because I started creating my program and coaching and teaching and this fire. So each time that fire comes back, like you said, I have realized that all of that information I was cramming into my head and my soul had time to settle and subconsciously get worked out and figured out, that when I came back stronger, came back with more information, came back with new visions and a strength that I didn't have 2 years ago. Each step, it's like you get up here, you wait, and then whoop, you take another step and you wait, and it's just amazing watching. So that plateau came from defeat, but I had so much to learn, so much to go through the next 2 years, year and a half, because that was August 2019 till January 2021. So yeah, year and a half. That I just kind of went hibernating, experiencing life, made changes, healed myself, did a lot of healing. Talk about working on yourself as a healer. That is a challenge because I really got to get real. How do I really feel? Do I really want to admit this? And then to be where I'm at today. So I'm manifesting these speaking offers and situations, manifesting, working with people, getting my story out in a loving way, in a supportive way, and just being real. Like, I'm not any better than you. I just got a different pathway that I'm taking to my destination. You decided to go over here, and I decided to take every rock wall and drop off cliff.
I mean, I'm from West Virginia. I'm already on top of the rocks. And listen, I want to thank you real fast because the 2020 questions that I do, they're hard. Because they challenge you a little bit. Because I seen you've moved from different places and your mannerisms changed a little bit. And only I can see the video, but I can tell. And I see that you lift weight off of your chest all the time, but you lifted a lot of weight off of you for some reason. I don't know why you had it on you, but you had it and you lifted that. So I want to thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I want to be as raw and open and real with people, that I'm not a spiritual evangelist or something. I'm real, and I've had these things. I've married and divorced twice. I just got custody of my children 2 weeks ago, and not from anything that I've ever done, but because I felt that it was time for me to fight for them to come back to live with me. And they were never taken. It was, I gave them up because I knew they had a better life elsewhere. When I got myself figured out in my life, my house and my job, then I felt like I can take them. And that was something I manifested. So I'm real. I understand the heartaches, the pains, the abuse, the mental things that you have to go through. I mean, at one point I broke down and went to the VA hospital for like 4 days because I wanted to die. I was just done. Was tired, was exhausted. I hated all of the pain and shit that was going around me. And when you talk about those things that you've overcome, you don't realize how much you've overcome. And that's why a little bit of sadness, I feel, comes in. I'm like, wow, that's where I was at one point. And I think that's what you were picking up about my ex-husband. It's just, that was a hard time, man. It was a hard time. I understand when people talk to me, I'm like, I can empathize because I did go through it, and you truly can trust me that when I say I healed myself, that you can work with me and I can show you how to heal yourself.
Okay. So Tessila Faith, I want to thank you so much for being on West Virginia and Commonplace. This has been amazing. In the near future, when the next book comes out or whenever you just have some free time, I would like to have you back on the show again for the simple fact you're a gift. You're an entity. The testament that I like to give to people, and this is not religious or anything, it's just something that I say about people, is a talent, a gift, whatever you want to call yourself, that trait. And the reason I call it a trait is because it was something that was conjured up and created inside you before you got here. Because of the struggles, because of the adversity in losing your name, the turmoil from a childhood that wasn't your childhood, a life that wasn't yours until you were in your 20s. That's a hard deal to go through. To come out of that whole as the person that you want to be, the person that you had to be, the person that you were going to become. That's amazing to do that, because there's people that live from 1 to 78 or 1 to 87 and don't figure out who they are until the last 3 seconds before they die.
Yeah.
And that's a harsh truth. That's a reality that people fail to realize. Some people can take this word conformity and they can live it. You can't live that. And that's what makes you special. That you won't conform, you will not confine yourself to any shackles, chains, or anything that anyone tried to do to you or society tried to do to you. With that being said, being strong, being a woman, none of that. The point of being strong is what matters. The sexual identity doesn't matter there, or gender identity. It's that you didn't settle on your laurels. You didn't accept an answer that was not your answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's why I always felt like I wasn't worthy of love, because I wasn't conforming. You're allowed to be loved for just who you are. And that's all that matters. Once you finally find that strength and that confidence in your identity and who you are and who you're supposed to be, there is no reason for you to ever feel less than anything. I don't care what you claim. You are simply loved unconditionally for who you are. And you were created that way before you came here. So why all of a sudden do you feel like you're suddenly not worthy? Well, you picked all of those things before you came. But you what? I'm sorry. I just, once I had to go through all of that, I realized like I am completely loved without having to work for it or conform to your ideas of love or be. You know what I mean? It even goes to the physical standards here on earth now.
And one thing that's also great here is that one word that I like that didn't come up in this conversation at all. It's a powerful word that people misconstrue. And you have not said this at all. And this is why you're really strong, because throughout everything you've done, you never looked for respect. Because people that look for respect are looking for an attention that they'll never receive.
Yes. Until they give it to themselves because they believe they deserve it.
Right. So once you became self-respecting, the respect has come around you. You didn't have to work for it. You didn't have to, because respect is something that you don't gain or earn. It's just there. The only thing you can do is lose it. You know?
Yeah. Exactly.
So I want to thank you for that. I know you're fine. I want to thank you for that because, like I said, it's so many different things on the mental level, physiological level that people don't understand when it comes to your trait or traits. And I always, as an adult, I had to learn also that you have to be open because, like we said, that institution of thought that we grew up with confines people. It makes people feel that there's only A, B, and C and D. You can't go. You can't leave D and go straight to J and then go to Z and then come back to A and then go from A to Z, skipping everything else, which you can and which you have done. So I'm telling you, that is your testimony. You are beyond an adjective. You don't have to have a word describe you because the description that you have is inside you. You know it. You live it. You breathe it. You eat it. You stay up with it late at night sometimes.
Yep.
So from everyone, from me to the audience, and from just getting to know you tonight, I want to tell you thank you because you're showing people that they can love themselves and they can go on throughout the world without conformity. And that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that. That really proves to me that that's who I am. You know, you're a complete stranger and you pick up that. So
yes.
Yeah.
All right. So once again, Tessila, can you do a shameless plug and tell everybody where they can reach you at before we get off the air?
Yes. There are a few different places. First off, Instagram, you will be able to communicate with me at any time of the day. There is no way that I block anybody. Instagram, journey.to.yahweh. And then my website, www.journeytoyahweh, no dots or dashes.com. You'll find everything. You'll find the links to all the social media from there. And then my YouTube, Think, Align, Manifest. Think it, align yourself, and manifest it into your life. I thought it fit.
So once again, I want to thank you for being a guest on West Virginia Commonplace. And like always, we're about to sign off. But before we do, there's one special thing. Everyone, everyone has this in their life. We do everything alone most of the time. Self-healing, blah, 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 blah. But there was something that was around the corner that helped you get to where you are. Just something. It could have been a book. It could have been a wall that you leaned on. Who are you going to give your shout out to? Because I've had people that give the shout out to themselves. Sometimes they give it to a family member, or they just give it to their life. Because sometimes that story that you don't write and don't tell, people see. And that's the thing that brought you to where you are today. So who's your shout out?
Well, one is not human. I would have to say my guardian angel, Isaac, because he's literally been there since day one. I just recently decided to start listening to him. And my children, because I feel my children, Wyatt and Elizabeth, grounded me enough that I did not want to leave this world. I did not want to commit suicide. I wanted to live my life and to teach them the life that they are deserving of having and that I didn't realize until an adult. So really, my kids and my guardian angel.
Okay. And once again, Tessila, I want to thank you for being on West Virginia Commonplace. And to all the listeners, Tessila has very many different ventures going on. Jump on over to her Instagram, light it on fire, and get in a conversation with her and find out the things and the questions that you want to know about your life. She's here to help you. So once again, signing off. Everybody have a good evening.